When did you start the cycle of poems? Was it a point in your life or any particular inspiration?
Yeah, I started writing the poems in the early 80s. I'd come to Barber after a Mayor Barber introduction meeting with Dorothy Hopkinson, January the 31st, 1979. Didn't quite realise I'd come to Barber for a little while after that, but I had. And Dorothy particularly, I think, took me under her wing, suggested that she and Tom thought that I should do something important with my poems. So she gave me the mere theme of the entire history of creation, i.e. evolution, reincarnation and involution through the 7 planes of consciousness that we talk of as the 7 heavens.
Well, Starry Eyes is so beautiful. Why did you use a school as a symbol for the first plane and the teacher, Baba, the master? Any particular personal feeling about this as a jumping off point? And who is the brilliant student? Is it the seeker?
Yes, the brilliant student is the seeker, because compared to most of us who are blundering around in the gross world, bumping into everything, the seeker, the genuine seeker on the path, who's reached as far as the first heaven, is indeed the star student. Why teacher? Well, that's a double-edged thing, because Barber's passport described him as a spiritual teacher, and of course, you know, in a divine sense, he has come to teach us. But he also says very clearly that he comes not to teach, but to awaken. So he's more an awakener than a teacher. Perhaps he's making us very clear about what kind of teacher he is. He's the teacher that awakens knowledge from within. The point of the metaphor of the schoolgirl crush there, that's double-edged as well, because in comparison to most of us on the gross plane, this is a very advanced soul. You know, she's in the first heaven, which is dreamland, and a dreamland that is not like us, where we might occasionally in our lives have this wonderful dream that we never want to wake up from, but we wake up. In dreamland, meaning the first plane, you can stay there and control that dream. So all those kind of wishes and drives that go on under our consciousness, you're kind of gaining some control of that. Nevertheless, it's a schoolgirl crush because it is only an immature version of the reality of the 7th heaven. So it's like the first buddings of a rose. So within the context of the school, it's like somebody having a crush on the teacher.
The divinest new teacher has come to our school. In a swirling of stars, I eclipse every rule. As his brilliant dark look unblinds my mind's eye to his heart-piercing question, I glow like a fool. I am deaf to the end of his first lesson bell. All the bells in my heart are in tune with his call. I'm as deaf to the world as love's wonder-struck bell, swung to heaven by Krishna and dying to fall. I must hand him my pages of error and shame, with the angels a choir in my ears, high and cool. Though you're dazed by my radiance, striking its chord is his liturgy. Love is the key to it all. I am deaf to the end of his first lesson bell. All the bells in my heart are in tune with his call. I'm as deaf to the world as love's wonder-struck bell, swung to heaven by Krishna and dying to fall. To just drift through those corridors, echoing bright, where his presence has lingered, is blissful, is cruel. Loving far-sighted pupil, distracted, see me, and his laser cut straight to my heart like a jewel. I am deaf to the end of his first lesson bell. All the bells in my heart are in tune with his call. I'm as deaf to the world as love's wonder-struck bell, swung to heaven by Krishna and dying to fall. Swung to heaven by Krishna and dying to fall.
Second plane. I was curious about the sense. Is that particular to the second plane?
Sense, yes, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, I have a very good book to give you a very good answer. The sound, sight, or smell of the higher planes can, with no stretch of the imagination, be likened to what we are used to on the physical plane. Our physical organs of hearing, seeing, and smelling are useless for experiencing and enjoying the higher planes. Therein it is a different eye that sees, a different ear that hears, and a different nose that smells. Although there is sound in all the seven planes, it is smell that is peculiar to the second and third planes.
Also, there's a part that isn't in there about the queen of second heaven, and it says the wedding of my dreams. Can you tell us about the meaning of the word wedding in the second plane and in this poem?
Yeah, it's not in that version, which is the one you worked from. I think this is the book I had when we met in India in 1994, and you took this away and worked from. Of course, by the time I was working on this, I'd added stuff and changed stuff, and I wish I'd put the couplet that you've just asked me about in this version. The happiest day of this persona's life, her wedding day, and her wedding day is to the divine beloved as perceived on the second plane. So, Queen of Second Heaven, she is master of that level of the acknowledged power and bliss. She's got to that level. Give me more and more. It's a journey. You go through the whole of second heaven, and it gets, better and better.
And finally, the phrase, the fine torn veil, my eyes are burned the more. Tell us about that.
Yes, the fine torn veil. I'm thinking of the Dance of the Seven Veils, which I think is another version of what we're doing. It's about the seven heavens, the seven planes. A veil can mean all sorts of things, but it's certainly to do with being hidden, and when the veil's removed, you can see a bit more clearly.
Through 1,000 years, I've loved him more and more. Now his fresh white rose is all I'm breathing for on a breathless trail. My nose for grossness lost in these blazing scents I burn to reach his core. Just to think of him unlocks our love's perfume, makes the pure light clear, and tunes me to the score. Now the dried up churchyard tree shall spring to life. This is love, he beams, which nothing can ignore. All the power from this ring I hold in hand, through the fine torn veil my eyes are burned the more. Novice feet, this peeling kiss, this heaven's fire, and let now's fine essence linger evermore. Through 1,000 years I've loved him more and more. Now his fresh white rose is all I'm breathing for.
Third plane. Yeah, I gone my long reign, shape-shifting cloud. How does this relate to the third plane?
The long reign is a reference to Zeus, or Indra, the king of the gods. As you know, the subtle world is the first three planes, and the third plane is the summit, the zenith of that subtle world. And Barber describes it in this way: the subtle world descends from the mental. This is the nothing and the everything. The subtle world descends from the mental. The subtle world is of water, 276 states of gas, and therefore Indra, or Zeus, or Jupiter, is known as the god of rain. So Olympus and Meru, these mythical places, is actually a real place. It's the third plane. When I read that in The Nothing and the Everything, so much of my education changed, shifted. Now Zeus, or Indra, or Jupiter, is the king of the gods and is different from the inhabitants of the third plane, which are angels and gods, because he is actually a human being who has attained that status through spiritual effort and holds it for a very, very long time, 4 epochs, and is very possessive of it. In my ghazal, he's got to the end of that reign and has finally decided he's going to let go. The ordinary angels, they are incredibly spiritually powerful and advanced and blissful, but they haven't attained that in the way the human soul Zeus has.
Also, I'd like to hear more about the story of the King of Angels. Why does he not want 333 angels to bow to him?
Well, because he wants God. Common with everything else, every other god, angel, fairy, whatever in creation, you cannot attain God except on earth in the physical form, which is why, for all that we feel frustrated by it, that's putting it mildly, but the human form is the key.
Gone my long reign, and its subtle vapors, shape-shifting cloud, breath of God's shadow, falling his rain, falling his rain, my own shadow, falling his rain. King of angels am I, yet angels, gods are all looking down, pray for low birth to ascend where we high spirits go, ascend. Oh beloved, do not offer me that bliss of the gods, 330 million angels who bow. Oh beloved, do not offer me that bliss of the gods, 330 million angels who bow. Man, yet a king God, I return to the earth as a star, raise the standard of what men may become, the hero may become. Man and not God, my lightning contained in a blade, earthed to die there like a man, past the third heaven, so like a man. The ageless angel Saint Michael took one lifetime as a man to be God the day his body died. So let me do so, let me be low. Oh beloved, do not offer me that bliss of the gods, 330 million angels who bow. Oh beloved, do not offer me that bliss of the gods, 330 million angels who bow. Shipwrecked angel, flight deck sinking, high Olympus in flood, high Olympus in flood. Shipwrecked angel, flight deck sinking, aim your love where the archangels would know. From Olympus, God must wing down past a harpchord in a cloud, past a dreamland to this child's play to have worth. Power over power, where even angels fear to go. I loved you in dark exile on the earth, for one smile on the earth, for one smile.
The fourth plane. Right, everyone's really nervous about this one because this is the place. Well, let me blow your mind by reading you what Baba says about it. After achieving gross form, the Jivatma, that's the individual soul, cannot fall back in evolutionary consciousness to a lower state of consciousness. No one loses consciousness once gained through evolution, so a human being cannot revert to an animal form. However, an exception is the human Jivatma on the fourth plane. He can fall all the way back to stone consciousness, but he is ruined only if he misuses the tremendous powers. The powers of the fourth plane are divine, infinite in nature, and all occult powers manifest from the fourth plane. Yogis call these divine powers Riddhi Siddhi, the power of Kundalini, the serpent's power.
Moral blitz creaks a mere shadow of my splendor, but above, more than pure will's look of thunder. Flash of lightning is our love, is our love. Flash of lightning is our love. Do not once, warned my beloved, try to conquer other selves. If you conquer yours, you've conquered theirs. The whole world in my love, the whole world in my love. In a dark night, he has left me crying blindly for his glare. In a dark night, he has left me crying blindly for his glare. Turn the hell scorch of this longing to the blaze pain of our love. Turn the hell scorch of this longing to the blaze pain of our love. Ooh, 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 ooh. On a sword edge bridge of thought deeds to my love's wish or my own, all the power of my glory, all the sweet, sweet fire of his love, all the sweet fire of his love. In an agony of passion, I could smash worlds into dust. All my flash mind is exploding in the space void of his love, in the space void of his love. In a dark night, he has left me crying blindly for his glare. In a dark night, he has left me crying blindly for his glare. Turn the hell scorch of this longing to the blaze pain of our love. Turn the hell scorch of this longing to the blaze pain of our love. Ooh, 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 ooh. Do not once, warned my beloved, try to conquer other selves. If you conquer yours, you conquer theirs. the whole world in my love, the whole world in my love.
On the fifth plane are many personal things in this poem. Can you explain a few of them? I love the phrase, silk step over marble. I assume that is Baba walking in Guru Prasad.
I'd been to India by this point, and it was fresh in my memory when I came back to write. I wrote the last 4 ghazals of the 7 planes quite quickly after I got back from India, and this is full of memories of that pilgrimage, and the arrival in Mumbai is what you're quoting from. Every dirt track, every silk step over marble is his own. It's an interesting thing the way this works, because yes, they are personal details, but I've assembled them to make a meaning that's not necessarily personal, that's beyond the personal. So this isn't just a kind of scrapbook of memories, although it is also that. I'd like your interpretation, actually, where Baba walking in Guru Prasad. These are the physical details that I try to turn in the context of the poem into something that can convey the mental world of the fifth plane. That, you know, in a far land is kind of India in one way, but that as a metaphor for the world of the mind that I am describing my pilgrim reaching.
In a far land where my thoughts throng like strangers, I'm at home.
And then when you say twinned cues, rickshaw, the quiet room, and stones heaved up the hill, it seems like that has some other understanding. If you could explain that.
Rich port, endless pulped forms left to fill.
Twinned cues, cracked crags, slaves heave. Notice the rhythm, you know, the da-da, that's part of the meaning. It's a vision that I'm trying to convey through images, sounds. The twinned cues were actually, I just always noticed, travelling through India, there'd always be 2 queues for everything, and then another queue round the back for the people that had bribed their way in. So that was that. But it means something else in the context of the fifth plane. Cracked crags is actually the stones at Mehrabad, which the Mandali, they were toiling in the hot sun, but they were doing it for love. You know, that seems suggestive to me. You could use that as part of this vision of the fifth plane. You know, the idea that you are working furiously to get closer to God. You're working on yourself. You're kind of breaking mental patterns that you need to get rid of. As an artist, by some kind of intuition, what's right, what should be in there and what shouldn't be in there. I need images to put it together. I need a tune to put it together. And I know when it's right. But after that, it's then up to you to interpret. This is a description of the fifth plane. But within those sort of broad guidelines, it means, the vision means what it means to you. I'm delivered by a rickshaw-driven blind to his candle in his still room where all thoughts fly, I have flown. The images I've used are suggested to me by travelling in a rickshaw at night through Pune, terrifyingly fast. For a rickshaw anyway, through these streets with all these lights flaring, and then I arrive at Baba's room, where he smashed his head on that stone, which you can see, where he smashed all his teeth out. It's kind of about that on one level, but I'm assembling it as a vision of the fifth plane.
And the story of Sita, Ram, Albert, and Victoria, can you give us a quick version of that? Because it's clearly highlighted in this poem.
eons ago, in the time of Sita and Ram, Ravana's sister loved Ram also, but couldn't marry him because he was already married to Sita. But her devotion earned her the promise from Ram that he would take another life, and in that life she would be his wife. Here we go, here's the extraordinary bit. That happened at the time of Queen Victoria, when Ravana's sister incarnates as Queen Victoria, and Prince Albert is the veiled incarnation of Ram, or of the Avatar. And that entailed the subjection of India to England, not because of all the historical and social factors, the East India Company and all that.
In a far land where my thoughts throng like strangers I'm at home, every dirt track, every silk step over marble is his own. There are twin queues for his rich port, endless pulped forms left to fill. Lovers thin bribes like the beggared seek a shortcut to his dome. All unraveled in his presence, all the heavens in a thought. I am sight-struck on the soul bliss of the vision he has shown. To his doorway I'm delivered by a rickshaw-driven blind. To his candle in his still room where all thoughts fly I have flown. All this heartland made of cracked crags which his slaves heave up the hill. Every thought bloom, all this love light in my mind's eye he has sown. All unraveled in his presence, all the heavens in a thought. I am side-drunk on the soul bliss of the vision he has shown. Were he Lord Ram, though his blood foe, for his Sita I would die. Like King Ravana's bold sister, wait an epoch for my groom. Were he Albert come to pay back all the love dues Rama owed? As Victoria for that lost groom in a grave dress I would moan. All unraveled in his presence, all the heavens in a thought. I am sight-drunk on the soul bliss of the vision he has shown. All unraveled in his presence, all the heavens in a thought. I am side-drunk on the soul bliss of the vision he has shown. rulers of the thought world, hear his song. Do not seek, child, it's your own veil. Like a cobweb, it must be blue.
Seeing is believing, glimpsed in my youth, my lovesick master seen, now dancing, slim and strong at dawn, in shining sadra. Everywhere in everything, and endlessly I see him face to childlike mirrored face, who calls me now his Radha. No desire, energy, or thought or trial exists now, only him whom I feel and breathe and am my master. Archangelic heart to hearts, his hands as quick as feeling close, my eyes to slower worlds, his larks lift spirits purred out. Men hook wreck with fastened burdens, sacrifice and service, pangs of separation borrowed. God could work no harder. Skyward straining, fractured limbed in agony, he's waving. Help my darling first, the purest feeling minds unmasked. Eye to eye now reading, one not we, his feet I'm pressing, cutting curls, his silenced seed of withering joy. I garner, heart of hearts, this lonely grief, these flames of lovers longing finally veil you and your opening eyes, the all outsider.
On the seventh plane, why do you say through the gulf of a tomb?
You have to die completely to yourself to become one with God.
My favorite line, I'm as drowned in his kiss as the bud in her bloom. So divine and inspired, Gareth.
Real profundity is really simple. And that's what you're trying always in a ghazal. You're trying to say something really profound from the heart, fiendishly kind of put into the rhythms by the mind, and sing it from heart to heart. And, you know, sometimes it just falls into your lap.
Was curious a bit about the meaning of his room, myself in his room. Is that a mystical meaning to be in his room, and what does that mean?
First of all, I've got to rhyme it with tomb and womb and all the other sounds. You've got to have that continuing. Is it a drum beat? Is it a note? I don't know. This kind of constant chiming of that sound. That's part of it. You'll know that from being a musician. There is also up on Mehrabad Hill. Is it his hut? There's a room anyway where you can go and where he spent a lot of time. You're the only one in the room. I was trying to use that idea for what it must be like to wake up to the fact you are actually yourself God. You are. And this one's gone. It was also the nearest sound I could get, the rhyme word I mean, to because I wanted the whole thing to end with the word home and with the sound.
This is God on the highest of highs through the gulf of a tomb. This is God. I'm on top of the worlds, born of mind, spirit, womb. I am not. Now the bubble has burst. There is nothing but sea. This is God. I'm as drowned in his kiss as the bud in her bloom. I'm in love. All the pain in my heart's disappeared like a dream. This is God. I am dead to the worlds and awake to my swoon. I am him now, the primal, beloved and lover are one. This is God I've become, who I journey towards, and from whom I am him now, the primal, beloved and lover are one. This is God I've become, who I journey towards, and from whom. Oh, my love, he's embraced me and brought me at last to himself. This is God. Now I see there is only myself in his room. I'm the soul. There's no dark where there's light, no unknown where one knows. This is God. Little mind has been raised with its search and its gloom. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're beyond the beyond, but you're found on the earth. This is me, all in the flesh, this perfection, this whole.
Thanks for writing these beautiful poems.